Shiachi was a lonely, ugly soy boy virgin like you whose life was wasting away like an upcoming meat. However, his life changed when he joined the Telencephalon's games to rescue his allegedly imaginary girlfriend, only for him to end up becoming a level 100 mafia boss instead.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Before that, he was a student at South Jim College and a part of the Deductive Reasoning Literature Club. They were planning on making a movie, but Shiachi found the script was pretty weak. It turned out he was not interested in the club, but joined because he was a simp for his girlfriend, Kingji, who was also a member of the club.
Now, I'm really mad.
Even though he confessed his feelings to her and got into a relationship with the school's idol, the two of them hardly talked. After he finished his monologue, the club's leader began to assign roles to the members of the club so they could begin filming. After filming, Shiachi went on his way home with Kingji, who had an unnatural space between them. He stopped to have a conversation with her, but his virgin aura almost made her run away. So she apologized for her behavior and mentioned she was very much inexperienced when it came to guys. But Menken came by and put an arm over Kingji's shoulder. Shiachi didn't take this well and went to attack him. As the two fought over the girl, Shiachi mentioned that he would send him to Jilu, a victim of a murder case. A surveillance camera sent this information to a group, and they decided to watch Shiachi more intensely. While the two guys fought over who was less mid, Kingji decided to leave.
Stop it. Get some help.
But Shiachi asked her on a date to watch a movie. She hesitated to reply, so he promised he would be gentle with her, and she agreed. On top of that, she mentioned she was willing to go past her boundaries to hold hands with him. Then she left. Menken went to tease him about his upcoming date, but Shiachi mentioned how he would be ditching his lonely ass and the fact he got no bitches. Then he asked Menken about the script. He revealed that it was based on a real case about how they led the killer into a trap through a forged letter written by the deceased but added in a few differences, unlike the actual case. Shortly, a fellow student arrived to show them the edited footage. The two guys looked at the footage and wondered why it was different. The student mentioned she didn't do anything to the footage. So Shiachi asked why the person in the footage wasn't Kingji, but she didn't know who that was. Meanwhile, at school, Kingji received a letter written by Jilu, asking her to solve a puzzle along with a card that had an inscription on it. She revealed she didn't know who Kingji was despite being classmates. Thinking the girl was playing a prank, Shiachi went to search for Kingji with Menken. They arrived at the female dormitory to check for her, but a Snorlax-looking lady blocked their path and refused to grant them entry, claiming no one like that was at the dorm.
Ah, shit. Here you go again.
The two met someone who was Kingji's roommate, heading out of the building. They asked if she knew her whereabouts, but she also forgot her existence, just like everyone else. A teacher found the guys at the dormitory, thinking they wanted to explore uncharted territory. But Shiachi revealed they were looking for Kingji. Unfortunately, he also thought she was fabricated. After trying to confirm her existence, he realized his perfect girlfriend never existed and began to think she was fake. However, Menken received a call, and he revealed it was from Kingji. Shiachi was ready to murder to get that phone and rushed to answer it. Kingji revealed she got Jilu's letter and cried for help. Then he tried to dial the number, and it didn't work. Then he began to cry about the fact that his girlfriend may have been a dream and the many unfulfilled things he wanted to do with her, but he declared he would not give up on finding her. The guys went to meet Menken's uncle to take a picture of the case files. As they left the police station, Shiachi examined the photographs of the case file and noted that the format of the letter was arranged in a right-angled trapezium, so he suggested that it could be a key to solving the code in the file. Using the power of BS math, he was able to find two possible numbers to solve the code. When he finished, the clock tower started to ring and a blackout occurred in the city. He looked around and noticed several signs that had 7 on them, then concluded the signs that had 7 were road markers. So Shiachi and Menken followed the signs and arrived at a coffee shop. As they met with the barista, Menken interrogated her to discover if she knew where Kingji was, but she turned around and wasn't willing to talk. However, Shiachi pointed out that the building looked bigger on the outside and asked where the missing space was, but she still refused to answer. He showed her a picture of the card from Jilu's case file, and that made her talk. She revealed a hidden door within the cafeteria and gave them the choice to enter the mysterious passage. When they got through, they arrived at a room, and a lady welcomed them to the Telencephalon. The lady welcomed them and explained they were in a game called Telencephalon, which allowed players to compete with each other. Menken asked if she had seen Kingji, but she refused to answer, saying she wasn't allowed to reveal personal info about other players. Shiachi was not having this, so he went to grab her collar, demanding she reveal his girlfriend's location.
FBI, open up!
A random homeless-looking person came into the room and was ready to have some extracurricular activities with Isayachi, but the lady was ready to beat his ass if he caused any commotion. So he left by using a card and created a portal in the ground. Menken asked how they would find Kinji, and the lady answered that the players were assigned to games randomly, and it was possible to meet the player they wanted to if they completed objectives in the game. He also asked if there was a way to join the game, and she revealed she could give them membership cards, which allowed them to partake in the game. So she presented the cards and began to explain more information about the game, but Shiichi was fed up with talking, so he picked the cards and gave one to Menken. As he left, he told him to watch the lady since he was suspicious of her, and then he created a portal to participate in a game. He got to a room and met two other players, Liu Yia and Shi Quan. An announcer explained the rules of the game. He explained there were 4 stages with objectives to complete. Players who completed an objective would receive 6 points, while those who didn't would receive 1 point. He added the other rules were posted on the wall. The game they played involved them rearranging a large rectangle that consisted of 49 rectangles into another large rectangle that contained 48 other rectangles. While Shiichi's teammates complained about how the game was impossible and brought up ideas, he solved the problem through the power of love. A door opened, and the 3 of them went to the next stage, which required them to assemble the components of 3 guns found on the table. Shi Quan revealed he was good with guns, so he reassembled them in under 5 minutes. He went on to brag about his gun handling skills, but no one cared what the fatso achieved with his life. They got to another section, where they had to draw the guns. Just like the curvaceous plots she had, Liu Yia admitted she was good at drawing curves, so she set to work while the gun nerd went to retrieve the guns. When she was finished drawing, they got to the final stage and found out that one person could go through the door. They noticed that daggers were provided if they needed to get physical. However, Shi Quan was a step ahead of them and pointed a gun at Shiichi and Liu Yia, betraying them. He explained the game was already set up from the beginning, not to let every player win. Thinking that Kinji would be subjected to the same life or death scenario he was facing, he thought he could be fast enough to get to the door. However, Shi Quan reminded him he could send him to heaven even faster. Liu Yia was disgusted by the fatty's actions, so she asked if Shiichi had any plans, but he was scared for his life, and he began crying and held onto her leg.
You're broke! You're f***ing poor!
Seeing this, Shi Quan thought he was just a useless loser, so he used the opportunity to head through the door. When he went through the door, it turned out Shiichi was pretending, so the 2 of them bid him farewell as the door shut him out. He revealed he held onto her leg so she wouldn't turn him into a bowling ball, and added that the door was also a trap. He explained that the 2nd and 3rd stages were a single stage, while the 4th stage was actually the 3rd stage. Additionally, he pointed out a table that was half outside a room, so he threw one of the daggers onto the wall where the table was and mentioned that was the door to the final stage. But his inference was proved wrong when the door opened up behind him. They got to the room and the floor suddenly began to collapse, causing them to fall into the abyss. When he woke up, he found himself and Liu Yia bound to a guillotine in a hellish-looking environment, and a person who looked straight out of a horror film came by with a huge-ass sword. He revealed that they were in the true final stage and introduced himself as the god of death. He asked them to choose between 2 games, a versus game where one of them had to die, or a collaboration game where they could both escape if they won, but they also die if they failed. So the 2 of them chose the collaboration game. The god of death showed each of them a number on his palm and revealed the goal was to guess the number the other person saw without revealing the answer to each other. He gave them a hint that the product of the 2 numbers was either 8 or 16. Then he cut the chain holding the guillotine blade in place and mentioned they had 2 minutes until heads would roll on the floor.
And you know what time it is?
He actually tried to give Liu Yia a hint, but the executioner was already way ahead of him and stopped his plan. So Shiichi went ahead with his anti-protagonist line, saying he would regret coming across a player like himself, but revealed he didn't know the number Liu Yia saw. At first, she thought he was just being useless, but she realized he was giving her a hint. So the 2 of them began exchanging a conversation of "I don't know" with each other while the blade descended above them. Just as the time limit was up, Shiichi and Liu Yia revealed the numbers they both saw correctly. He revealed the tactic they used to hint their numbers to each other through the conversation of "I don't know." So the god of death congratulated them on their win and vanished in a streak of fire. The announcer came by and congratulated the 2 of them for passing a practice stage and awarded the points to the winners. When Shiichi left the game, he found himself on a bench and saw Kinji next to him, who revealed she had been watching over him while he was asleep on the bench and reminded him of the date he wanted to go on with her. At first, he wondered what was happening since he entered the Telencephalon game to find Kinji, but he decided that everything that happened to him was a dream and proceeded with his date. He went to buy tickets for the movie and decided to pay using his card. He brought out his membership card, which startled him, but he paid for the tickets with it anyway. Confused, he asked the salesperson to check how much money he had on the card, and she revealed he had serious bank. He concluded that the fact he had the card meant the Telencephalon game wasn't a dream and calculated that each point earned in the game granted him 100,000 yuan. He figured he had struck a gold mine, so he canceled his plan of going to the movies with Kinji and went to buy anything he could find for her. After he purchased the gifts for her, they went to a water fountain and Kinji expressed her annoyance with his lavish spending. He apologized for getting so lost in buying stuff for her, saying he wanted to make her happy. She held his hand and mentioned he didn't need to spend all that cash and would be happy even if it was just holding hands with him. While he admired the moment, he came to a sudden realization that since the game and card were real, his wayman Menkin should still be at the game hall waiting for him, so he dialed his number. While he hoped for Menkin to pick up the call, he surprised him from behind, revealing he was okay and was also on a date. She took him away and asked him how they left the Telencephalon game they joined, but he had no idea of what he was referring to and thought he got a bit too wasted when they went drinking. A black hole opened up in the sky and enveloped everything in the vicinity, but it was the Telencephalon that was preparing to launch Isiachi into another game. He landed in a room with other players and noted the uniforms everyone was wearing. The announcer stated that they had to work together and escape safely in the game they would play. After that, Shiichi got a private announcement only he could hear and was given an optional objective of killing player number 2 for bonus points. He contemplated what that could mean and figured that everyone else had also been given their targets. A player suggested they introduce themselves since they would be working together to clear the stage, but the rest of the players disregarded that idea since they wouldn't know who their allies or enemies were, so they all decided to call each other by their player numbers. Number 1 divided the team into 3 groups. However, Bobian, who was number 5, stated the fact everyone was assigned a target, which put the members on edge. From there, he revealed his target was Shiichi.
My time has come.
So the players decided to proceed alone. However, another player mentioned it was a bad idea to move separately and asked them to put their optional tasks aside and move as a team. Another player agreed with the idea and decided to start a team with the others who agreed. Shiichi decided to move alone since he didn't trust the alliance. But number 3 caught up with him and revealed she didn't want to go with a lot of people, but was also scared of traveling alone. She mentioned she was a newbie, but Shiichi countered that she only said that to lower everyone's guard around her. This made her confess that she was in her 6th game and had room temperature IQ, so she used her tactic to find allies. The two of them came across a ghost girl but disappeared shortly after. Player 3 went to hold Shiichi's arm, but he didn't want the touch of a thought, so he held her neck against a wall. Shiichi revealed he was her target and not Bobian, which explained why she was confident enough to trust him. He released his grip from her neck, and as he left, she confirmed his claim to be true. She added she had no interest in harming him and wanted to complete the game since losing would deplete her points, causing her to die. Shiichi noticed the ghost again, so the two of them ran away to a freezer room. After a while, the door to the room began to close, so they ran towards the exit. Unfortunately, number 3's foot got stuck while Shiichi escaped. She decided things were already over for her, but he managed to get back in the room just before it closed. Meanwhile, among the players that formed a team, Bobian pointed out they had been going in circles, so he threw a stone ahead. This caused his teammates to ask why he did that and revealed they had entered a deadlock. As the team contemplated their next plan of action, number 2 brought a knife she revealed to have gotten from their starting point. A player expressed distress as she wielded a knife, but she assured them she would not break the rules. She decided to make a hole in the wall, so she stabbed the wall with a knife and figured the wall wasn't sturdy. Then she kicked a hole in the wall and crawled in, but it looped behind them. Bobian gave a theory of why they were stuck and suggested they get around the corridor by closing their eyes, but none of the players agreed with his BS plan. It turned out his claim of the looping corridor was a lie that eventually became real, so he concluded the game's difficulty was determined by the players. Meanwhile, Shiichi and number 3 remained stuck in the freezer, while Shiichi needed Captain Obvious to point out he couldn't kick the door down. She asked why he came back since he already escaped, but it turned out he was a simp, so she went to him and hugged him, and this officially became the first time Shiichi felt the touch of a woman. She asked for his name and revealed her name to be Chun Suxing, which will be shortened to Chun for reasons. He noticed the ghost girl again, who pointed towards a lever in the ground. Then he remembered Chun was a thought and pushed her away. A combination lock opened up, which gave them the chance to escape. but they had no idea of the passcode. Chun pointed out some cracks in the glass above the keypad corresponded with the position of some numbers, which allowed them to conclude that the passcode used those numbers. After a bit of observation, Shiichi noticed the cracks were made at different times, which let him find out the sequence of numbers for the code, allowing them to escape the freezer. Back at the team, they stopped their expedition since they were still moving in circles and were wasting time. So Bobian brought up his idea of this stupid trust walk again, but number 6 was doubtful of this since it wasn't guaranteed that everyone would do the same or launch a surprise attack. As they got out, Shiichi wondered why the system let them go easily, and Chun revealed it was always making evaluations and were let go because of their outstanding performance. Out of curiosity, Shiichi asked what would happen if someone died, and Chun answered that dying meant disqualification from the game. However, a player would die if they got below 0 points. She added the reason people didn't die when killed in the game was to allow people who never killed to go apeshit. So he got his murder instinct and decided he would kill his target. Back at the team, while the two players had a dispute about the plan they should follow, they heard a scream from afar, thinking Shiichi got killed. But he did that intentionally to gather attention. This made number 2 discover that Shiichi wasn't Bobian's target and began to suspect him. The players began to argue with each other, and then Bobian pushed number 6 towards 2, and she killed him. Then number 4 got into a fight with number 2 and got killed with assistance from Bobian. After the chaos was over, number 2 asked him why he helped her, and he revealed she helped in eliminating his target. She also added her target was eliminated as well and decided to leave the area. As she was about to leave, number 5 did a 180. He revealed Shiichi wasn't dead and mentioned he lost interest in her. So he killed her, which granted Shiichi his bonus points. Shiichi and Chun decided to go ahead and search for the exit, but a massive wall of spikes headed towards them, so they had to run. They jumped through a few holes in the wall to escape. But Shiichi had enough of that shit and broke through the last one. They discovered the road had been cut off, so they decided to jump over the gap. They jumped, but Chun was about to fall into the abyss, so Shiichi pushed her from behind to safety while in the air, and he hung for dear life on the ledge. Chun got to him with the intrusive thought of eliminating his target, but she rescued him instead. They got through a door and noticed the change in scenery, and then the boss music began to play when an axe flew towards Chun's head to end her. Shiichi rescued her from doom, and it turned out it was number 1 who threw the axe at her since she was his target. Shiichi let him know they were a team, but the player reminded him that he was her target, and Shiichi revealed he already knew that fact. Number 1 turned out to be the boss of incels who couldn't stand seeing them together, so he decided he would kill them both. Shiichi tried defending Chun with the worst attempt at defending ever. He mentioned the fighting strength of a man doubled when defending a woman, but that didn't seem to be the case for him, as number 1 stomped his face into the ground like it was nothing.
Come on, man.
As he went to finish off Chun, the number tags of the deceased players flew into him and cut him. Then Bobian showed up asking to join the action. Number 1 asked why he was helping the two, and Bobian revealed he was interested in Shiichi.
You are gay.
Number 1 concluded that Shiichi was a man of many tastes. The 3 of them decided to protect each other, and this made number 1 lost for words about what was happening. He decided they would beat the shit out of him, so he retreated. After the whole situation, Shiichi asked Bobian about Kingji, but Bobian asked Shiichi to let him kiss him in exchange, but Chun refused to agree with that. As they argued about who would get him, Shiichi got annoyed and exclaimed they should finish the game first. They got to a hall and found number 1 standing in front of a pedestal. He mentioned he would be completing the game ahead of them. When Chun asked how he was so sure about that, he pointed out that the altar was the only installation in the room before some large doors, which suggested they were in the final arena. Bobian insisted he should go ahead with his victory, and he placed his hand on the altar. He mentioned that the game would probably finish him off for leaving alone since the game tested people in groups. Then the ground began to shake and some hellspawn appeared. Number 1 tried to run, but his attempt was useless, as he got roasted before he could reach the door. Chun wondered why it turned out that way, and Bobian explained the game aimed to put the teams in a trial against each other, but number 1 did not undergo any trials like that. They all placed their hands on the prince on the pedestal, and the door opened up. A girl stood in front of the exit, and Shiichi and Chun recognized her as the ghost girl they saw from earlier. She went on about how she had 2 sisters, and how they love each other, and she thanked them for teaching her what trust was, while the team wished to skip this cutscene.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
After she concluded her speech, she disappeared. Then the announcer revealed they had 2 options, to conclude the game and leave through the doors, or to return to the castle and complete an optional mission. They all chose the normal option and concluded the game. Chun ran towards the door ahead and stretched her hand out to Shiichi, and as he was about to take her hand, Bobian threw a number tag at her, which slit her throat as he was not interested in teaming up. Shiachi tried to catch her falling body, but it fell through the portal. Bobian revealed the reason he saved Shiachi was to complete the final stage. He added that since the exit was open, he would have no consequences if he killed her. Shiachi tried to punch him, but his physical abilities were useless against Bobian, so he punched him to the ground.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
He realized he had attacked the love of his life, and this made him lose a few screws as he began apologizing and offered him a knife, asking Shiachi to kill him. But Shiachi took the knife from him and threw it away. He admitted he couldn't kill him with his current ability, but vowed he would kill him the next time he saw him.
It's be about time.
When he went through the passage, he returned to the exact point where he stopped on the date with Kingji. He remembered when Chun got killed, so he decided to go home. When he got back home, he began throwing things around and punched his desk multiple times out of anger. He began to think of how he made the mistake of trusting Bobian, which cost him a companion. He also began to have an existential crisis about how he couldn't sleep and had to wait for the next game to begin. After a while of thinking, someone arrived at his room door, so he went to open it. But he got kidnapped and was brought to a location where he noticed a girl swimming, who turned out to be Chun. She mentioned she invited him over but was kidnapped instead. She revealed the people who brought him to her were her bodyguards and didn't think they would kidnap him.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Concerning how she survived, she revealed that as long as a player was alive when the game concluded, she would win no matter what happened. She actually asked if Bobian knew nothing would happen if he killed her, and she agreed since he was a veteran in the game. This makes Shiachi conclude that Bobian killed her to provoke him. Chun recalled that he asked Bobian about Kingji and asked what happened to her, so he explained his story. When he was done, she revealed she was brought to the games through a friend and suggested Kingji may have never vanished and was lured to the games through an illusion instead. Shiachi began to wonder what the purpose of the game was, but she replied she didn't know its purpose, but knew everything else more than him. Shiachi said she was capping and she agreed, saying that she wasn't as smart as him but mentioned it was possible to make a lot of cash from the games. He mentioned she didn't need the prize money since she was already rich, but she revealed her family was very poor and she got everything she had at her place using points. Shiachi doubted that she got everything she had using points since he believed a point was equivalent to 100,000 yuan and couldn't cover the cost of everything she had. So she mentioned he sucked at spending his points and showed him the Telecephalon's store terminal where they could get anything on Earth. She added that a point there was equivalent to 3 million yuan, and this made Shiachi realize how much cash he just sent down the drain. So Shiachi decided to try shopping and was unsure of what to purchase. Then Chun suggested he buy rest time from the games with 7 days costing 1 point. Chun hired a bodyguard for Shiachi as a gift and asked him to relax at her villa, so the two of them went to play various games together. At the end of the day, Shiachi decided to head back to his dormitory and noticed his bodyguard who had arrived. Unfortunately, his bodyguard was a woman and Chun realized she had messed up. As he met with her, he apologized for the delay and they drove off while Chun realized she had gotten a new rival.
Let's go.
On the road, Shiachi noticed they were being chased. She used some fast and furious technique to turn the car around and shoot one of the drivers in the car, but one of the attackers from the enemy cars fired a rocket at them, ending their hot pursuit. Shiachi came from the vehicle and the enemies began to fire at them. His bodyguard leaped out of the car and killed the attackers who had stormtrooper aim. She noticed the fuel leaking out of the car, so she grabbed Shiachi in the most sus way ever and got him away from the explosion. Shiachi woke up in a hospital and was met by the head of the Telecephalon's security team. He apologized for the incident that happened and for not being able to provide backup on time. He revealed the people who were after him were mercenaries hired by another player. Shiachi thought it could have been another player he defeated in a match who was looking for revenge, but the security head noted that he had never played against the person before, so it couldn't be revenge. Unfortunately, he explained that the security couldn't fight back against the player, but added that if a player kills another player outside a game by any means, that person would be punished. The chief of security assured Shiachi that he didn't need to worry and had already made special deployments regarding his situation. Shiachi insisted on knowing where his bodyguard was and was taken to a place where she was being whipped. He mentioned she had already done well the previous time despite the incident happening without any warning and the enemies having much serious firepower. However, the man stated that a bodyguard had to fulfill their duties regardless of the situation. He pointed out the blunder she made in trying to go against the enemy despite being outnumbered and endangering her boss. He tried to stop the cruel punishment being inflicted upon his bodyguard, but she said she was willing to accept the punishment as a result of not doing her job properly. She begged to continue working with Shiachi and vowed she would lay down her life for him. But the security chief mentioned there would not be a next time and told the others to continue with her punishment. The man who whipped her noted that she never made a sound when she got whipped but was making a lot of happy noises for the remaining few. Chiachi mentioned he had the right to choose his bodyguard as an employer, but the chief mentioned he could only share basic info about the bodyguard according to the rules. Chiachi noticed she was providing her information in Morse code by tapping her finger. This allowed him to mention her information, which permitted the chief of security to give her another chance at her job. As she pushed Chiachi in his wheelchair back to his room, she mentioned she was shocked that he could read the Morse code. She revealed her name to be I-7 and said she was an orphan who underwent bodyguard training from when she was 3 years old. She began to watch over Chiachi, and he noted that she never drank water or used the bathroom, and spent most of her time sitting with her eyes closed but was still incredibly alert. On top of that, he noted that she never slept. The next morning, I-7 watched a player from the window and told Chiachi that he was the person who tried to kill him. He called him on his phone and mentioned he was lucky to survive the previous attack. Chiachi reminded him of the consequences of killing a player, but he was a person who lived life on the edge and claimed he would kill him within 5 days. After the call, he asked I-7 to tell him the rules about killing people outside games. She revealed that any player who harmed another player must suffer the same fate as punishment, and a player was free to defend himself from another player's threat with no consequence. He figured the other party was working as a group, then he went to take a seat and decided he would be killing him tonight. I-7 went to meet Chiachi, who was presumably gathering Sage Mode chakra for his assault in his room, and she informed him that the preparations were ready.
I got you, homie.
The player, who was determined to kill him, watched as Chiachi entered a vehicle from a building. So he asked his accomplice to attack the car while he stormed the building to confirm if it was Chiachi who left the building. He followed Chiachi's vehicle and called out the car plate number to his colleague, who searched the building and found no signs of him. So he was instructed to eliminate him. As he was about to do so, the vehicle stopped at the side and he stepped out of the vehicle to kill him, but found out it was a decoy. A truck sent his car to an Isekai world, and the vehicle Chiachi was inside emerged from the truck's container. So the player used the decoy to get their car and continue the pursuit. He caught up with him again and revealed a new license plate number to his partner. He continued with the vehicle pursuit and then noticed the car he was chasing had changed lanes. The player realized he was chasing the wrong vehicle, but his colleague mentioned he already found the car with the info he was provided. The guy performed a drive-by on Chiachi's car and managed to pop one of its tires, which caused it to spin out of control. He got out of the car and continued firing, but it turned out the person he killed was his teammate. When he did that, he died shortly after his punishment. Chiachi spotted them from a bridge and noticed how they both had their IQs in the minus. It turned out Chiachi prepared 2 cars that were the same and changed their license plate. This got the 2 nameless filler characters to chase and kill each other. Later, Chiachi went for a jog since he had fully recovered from his injury and met I-7. He asked if anyone came to visit him at the hospital, but she said no one came since he was a soy virgin. She added that the place where he was hospitalized was kept secret and his phone got destroyed, so she gave him a new one with his old contacts and a clean browser history. He decided to call his friends to let them know he was hospitalized but was alright now. I-7 revealed his next game would start shortly, and Chiachi was more than ready for it. Then he got enveloped by the black hole from the sky, which took him to his next game. The announcer revealed that 11 participants would partake in a team versus individual match, and he went over the rules of the game. He revealed they would basically be playing a game of Among Us, where a group of 10 people had to survive and one person was assigned as a killer. He revealed the conditions to win were to survive for 9 days or find out who the killer was with concrete evidence. In addition, they were not allowed to reveal or discover any information about a player. A player stated he played 8 different games and had never experienced a match like this one, but he got disqualified since he revealed information about himself, and the other players took note of how strict the system was concerning that rule. The girls within the group were enthusiastic about their win, while another player decided to see what he had in his case of supplies. He opened it up and revealed what was inside, and the system nuked him out of the game for that. That elimination was able to shut everyone in the group up. While everyone in the group went to loot the case of the eliminated player, Chiachi realized their supplies wouldn't last them for 9 days and figured the killer could win by doing nothing. He concluded that to get more resources, some people would have to be sacrificed. Chiachi wanted to announce this to the group, but the player with multicolored hair stopped him and took him somewhere private. He knew what he wanted to talk about, and Chiachi asked for his opinion. He stated that no one would be willing to surrender voluntarily, and they had no idea of deciding who should stay. So he mentioned their only hope was if the killer made his move quickly. Later on, a girl from the team asked a player for the cigarettes he got from the eliminated player. She revealed that she smoked, but the female gear didn't include them, and this made her disappear like the cigarettes in her supply. At night, number 7 decided they would each take 1-hour shifts to watch according to their numbers. Everyone went to sleep, leaving Sayachi and number 1 behind. She wondered what kind of weapon the killer would use, whether it would be a knife or a rocket launcher, but Chiachi told her not to worry, saying it was what it was. After a while of thinking, Sayachi decided to go to sleep, leaving number 1 behind. The next morning, it was revealed that a player had been killed, and the team was given 10 minutes to investigate the corpse. They discovered the victim to be number 6, who was killed by a steel needle that pierced his neck. Number 7 investigated the body and noted that the player died a while ago. This allowed him to conclude that the system didn't notify immediately once someone died. The team figured the killer attacked during number 9's shift and proceeded to attack Sergeant Double Chin for his exceptional observation skills. He claimed he never heard or saw anything. However, number 7 calmed them down. He observed the steel needle and figured that it was fired from some sort of weapon through an ejection.
So that was a f***ing lie.
One of the girls from the team continued her assault on number 9, ready to turn him into a bowling ball. Number 7 revealed they were in great danger now and asked the team to stick together, even when one of them took a dump. The team spent the day crawling along a field to conceal themselves from the killer. After spending the entire day looking stupid, number 7 decided that the team should take a break. On the third day, the fat guy was having a breakdown of the calorie deficit he was facing in the forest while using not-so-YouTube-friendly language.
Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
He decided to head to the latrine, and number 7 volunteered to follow him. While number 1 and Chiachi discussed the bloated guy's outburst, they heard someone scream at a distance and rushed to the scene. They discovered the killer put the angry beast to rest, and they were asked to check his corpse. Beside him was number 7, who had lost his composure and was terrified by the fact the fat guy died before his eyes, saying the killer was invisible. The team noted it would be difficult to hit a target with a throwing knife from a distance, and Chiachi recalled a certain someone who had the skill to pull it off and wondered if it could be Bobian. But he realized he was more of a sadist who would rather watch them fight each other. Kakashi suggested they continue moving continuously, which would make it difficult for the killer to attack. But number 7 lost all of his bravery and mentioned he wouldn't follow them. He revealed that he would head in the opposite direction and pointed out that the killer could have a device to point out their locations. He took half a bottle of water from the fatty's case and went on his way. Number 1 pointed out that the killer could kill him first in return, but Chiachi noted that he would be safe for the day since he discovered that the system placed a limit on his kills per day. After a while of walking, they decided to rest while 2 of the girls from the team went to the latrine. Chiachi began to think of the killer, then he fell asleep. Number 1 woke him up and noted the 2 had been gone for a while, so he rushed to search for them and found one of the girls unconscious on the ground. He went to check on her and figured she was still alive since the system didn't issue any announcements. They took care of the girl who was number 4, and it turned out she was poisoned and her condition got worse. Kirachi also noted that even though number 3 was kidnapped, she wasn't killed due to his 1 kill per day theory. He confirmed that the killer was number 7 and added that he discovered this after number 4 got poisoned. He also revealed that he killed number 6 and the Fatso, then left the group to find number 11. But he ran into 3 and 4, so he poisoned 4 and kidnapped 3 to kill later. Meanwhile, number 7, who had tied number 3 up, noticed the other 2 members left number 4 behind on his radar. He decided to finish her off and didn't care if they found him to be the killer since he was safe because of the rule that forbade attacks on the killer. He got to the destination but was met by number 1. At first, he tried pretending not to be the killer, but number 1 commended his acting skills and revealed his kill limit. She added that it wasn't known when number 4 would die, so he wouldn't be able to kill her. She revealed that just like him, another person in the team had a radar, but never revealed it in case the imposter was in their midst. He checked his radar and noticed that Chiachi and number 4 weren't moving from their location, so he ran towards the location to kill Chiachi, while number 1 chased after him but failed due to her terrible physique. When he arrived at his destination, he saw number 4 alone, so he decided to kill her, but Chiachi jumped down from a tree and snatched his case from him, and number 1 finally caught up with them. He pointed out that investigating his briefcase would get him disqualified, but number 1 said they could see him remove his weapons, which would be used as evidence against him. This caused him to surrender, and he added that he would return to the losing world, which was the world the person came from. Kagechi was shocked by this, which allowed number 7 to know he had never lost before. He explained that the winners would go to the Telencephalon's world, where they would be rich, but the losers would go back to the real world and return to how broke they were. This caused Xiachi to ask how many worlds there were. Number 7 explained it was believed the Telencephalone organization was the ruler of the winning world, who took talented people from the losing world. But to him, he believed one of them was fake. So Xiachi asked number 1 if they could lose the match because he wanted to return to the original world, and she accepted his request. So he revealed how much rations he had left and got disqualified, which caused them to lose the match. As he left, he noticed that his clothes had changed back and he was at the game hall.